And he has, hello, my exceptionally pleasant friends. I'm here with what is apparently turning into a weekly news roundup. Like I said last time, I just write down the stories until I have enough stories to do a video, and it's apparently there's just that many stories in a week. Of course, this week was inflated somewhat by Nintendo releasing their really big financial report at the end of their fiscal year. Their fiscal year runs through March, so, you know, a little ways after that, there's always like the big one, like the big yearly financial report. So we do have a lot of stories on that. Will I continue to have enough stories to do these once a week? I do not really know. Let me know if you think that's a good idea or if that's too much or whatever down in the comments. Gotta get moving though, lots to talk about. As of March 31st, 2020, the Nintendo Switch has sold 55.77 million units. Due to the very big and continued success of Animal Crossing, that number has no doubt gone up by now, though of course it is probably limited somewhat by the fact that it's a little bit hard to find a Switch right now. These sales, naturally, are very good. The Switch is just about to become Nintendo's #2 top-selling home console ever. Handheld is a different story. Nintendo's handhelds have always sold like crazy, so it's a little further down that list. But as far as home consoles go, it will very soon be #2. Will it ever hit the numbers that the Wii hit? The Wii sold 101 million. Will the Switch do that? I don't really know. The later you go into the generation, sometimes you start to see some slowing. Like the Wii was very strong early on, but then later on in its life, you know, things really slowed down kind of to a crawl, at least comparatively. Will the Switch do that? I don't really know. I mean, we're a good few years into its life, and it is still a very healthy system that is still growing very rapidly. So maybe, if it can carry this momentum just a few more years, then it will definitely outsell the Wii. Furthermore, in the last fiscal year, a whopping 18 Nintendo-published Switch games sold more than 1 million copies. Some, obviously, a lot more than that. 18 of them sold more than 1 million. Some of these were new titles. Plenty of these were already years old and still went on to just sell more millions because Nintendo games have legs. We've talked about that a lot of times. They got legs and they keep selling over the course of the system. I mean, another 3 million for Mario Odyssey, another 4.5 million for Zelda, another 5 million for Smash. And Nintendo provided an updated top 10 list. You know I love their top 10 sales list. I've made 2 entire videos about them. I'm not gonna make one immediately. I just kind of made that other one. But they gave us the list, and of course Animal Crossing shot right up the list, and this data only comes from a few weeks of it being on sale. It's already at number 7. It bumped off Luigi's Mansion. I knew it was inevitable, but you know, it happened. I'll talk more about the Animal Crossing sales in a bit, but this is a very impressive list. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe almost at 25 million. That's incredible. 18, 17, 17. These numbers are just amazing. And here's another interesting tidbit. Over the last year, Nintendo saw a 72% increase in digital sales. Digital sales have only been going up and up and up year over year, and as I've talked about, that's great for Nintendo because digital sales bring in just a whole lot more revenue without having to worry about retailers and, you know, printing physical copies and all that stuff. And yet another 72% is a very impressive number. And you know what? I don't think too much of that has to do with the fact that everybody's been, you know, stuck at home for the last few months. I don't think it's just Animal Crossing. This goes over the whole last fiscal year. So I think this is just showing a trend of people, more and more people, buying digital more and more. Some people will lament that idea, but I say it's interesting. It's very interesting how the industry and even people's own tastes and desires are shifting so much. Now, on the less fun side of things, Nintendo basically came out and said, look, this whole situation is bad, and if it gets any worse, this might really impact our ability to make products and services. And I already talked a bit about this in the video that I did talking about how Nintendo probably isn't going to be having any sort of Nintendo Direct this June. The gist of it is that in Japan, they're just a lot less equipped to work from home, you know, all the teleconferencing and all that stuff. They haven't really done it in the past. They're very traditional. They like the traditional work experience. So they're having a really hard time. Nintendo as a whole is being impacted pretty heavily by this situation. So it is interesting to see them, in their own words, saying like, this might be a problem. And we knew it was true. It's true for anybody. It might be a problem, but they're very much aware of how much of a problem it might actually end up being. The idea of things getting delayed is, of course, disappointing, but, you know, that's obviously just the situation that we're in right now. I would say that it's very bad luck that Nintendo already seemed to be in a bit of a sort of a drought for a while. I complained about it plenty of times before. It just seems like by complete coincidence, they just happen to be in one of their lulls. They have these ups and these downs, and this whole thing hit them when they were already on a down. So we've had very, very little over the last, like, almost a year now in terms of announcements. And now it felt like we were kind of on the tail end of that. It felt like, okay, now they're gonna swing back around with some stuff, and now this is happening. So it's I don't want to say grim, but it's definitely not a fun situation. A lot of us were hoping that June would bring the big games, but now we don't know when Nintendo is going to announce anything, what they have. We don't really know. There very well might not even be a holiday title this year. They might have to just kind of put everything on hold, but I don't know. We'll see. Now, sort of tying into that, Nintendo has forecasted that they will sell 19 million Switch units over the next fiscal year. You know, there's always a forecast. Any hardware producer, any platform, they're always going to tell their investors, this is how many we think we're going to sell next year. And these numbers are always, like, kind of inflated. They need to seem confident. You know, they need to keep their investors happy. But even considering that, I am pretty darn skeptical of 19 million. That's only a very small drop over the previous fiscal year. The Switch will continue to sell really well, but considering now we've gotten the Pokemon and the Smash and the Mario Kart and the Zelda and the Mario and all that stuff, and the Animal Crossing, I don't think there's anything else that's gonna give it another really, really, really huge push, you know what I mean? I feel like the next fiscal year, even just matching last year, would be a pretty big feat. So for them to say that considering this whole situation, they themselves have said some games and services might not even launch, and they're also having problems with supply. They're having a hard time manufacturing enough Switches and getting them in stores. To say that they're expecting only a 9.6% drop, pretty darn skeptical. They have said that despite expecting delays, manufacturing has been recovering a little bit. It's been getting a little bit better. They've been getting a little bit more on the store shelves. But this whole situation is having a very big impact on a lot of companies, so I don't know. I just think 19 million is a little, there's confidence, and then there's like, okay, really? But hey, we'll see. Maybe they'll get production going again, and with that many people stuck at home, Switches will sell, maybe they'll sell 30 million in the next fiscal year. I don't know. Who can really know? So swinging back around to Animal Crossing sales, through the fiscal year, the number was 11.77 million, but that only covered the last 12 days of the fiscal year, and obviously it has still been selling. So Nintendo has estimated, or reported, or whatever, on this little infographic here, that the actual number for the first 6 weeks, instead of just 12 days, is 13.41 million. Now, this is like, if this were its lifetime sales, that would be great. That would be like, oh my gosh, what an amazingly, amazingly popular game. But then, like, look at this. Like, New Leaf was also massively, massively popular. And look at how few it sold in its first 6 weeks. That's like, what is that, like 2.5 million? It sold throughout the life of the 3DS. Those numbers just kept coming in. Now, this game, New Horizons, it might be a little more front-loaded just because the install base of the Switch is larger than the 3DS's was at the time of New Leaf's release. And of course, they released New Horizons at a very, very opportune time. But a number this big, this fast, like, this could easily become the Switch's #1 top-selling game. This could dethrone Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It already looks like it's probably gonna pass Pokemon, and now even Mario Kart. It's been at the top of the hill this whole entire time. Even it is not safe. Are the game's sales front-loaded? Will it have legs like previous titles? Only time will tell, but I'm thinking probably. It will probably end up selling a stupid, just absurd amount of units. In other Animal Crossing news, Olivia's.com is trying to establish a service where people can pay a professional island designer to come to their island and help them revamp everything, to design their island and all their items and everything, in the same way that a person would come into your home and design your house or your yard or whatever. Because why not, right? It's a massively popular game. I suppose it seems like something that someone could capitalize on, trying to hire designers and sell that service to people. If it's a service that people want, is it a service that people want? That's the real thing here, is like, there's the application here, for people to sign up to either be a consultant or to have their island consulted. Has anyone signed up on either front? Do these people have consultants yet? Has anyone used the service? I really don't know. They just have the website here, but maybe. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If any of you want to spend kind of a lot of money on making your town look nice, then let me know how it worked out. Final Animal Crossing related item, a new duping glitch has been found. The old one was patched out by Nintendo, but someone found another one. Has another thing to do with placing items or something. This one is a lot more complicated, and I read through the description a few times, and I still didn't really get it. And I'm not going to show it happening here, because apparently Nintendo doesn't like that. They get mad or something if you show off glitch. I don't know. I just heard about some other publications having problems with that, so I'm not showing it, and I don't get it. But it is interesting that they found another one. Is Nintendo going to patch this one out just as fast? Will we just keep finding them? I mean, there's got to be a limit somewhere, right? On just easy ways to duplicate items. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's like a million. Maybe we'll just keep finding them till the end of time. Okay, so here's a big one. There's this company called Broad On that Nintendo hired to work on a bunch of stuff for Wii hardware and software. Allegedly, their servers were hacked and people found a treasure trove of information about the Wii and a lot of other Nintendo stuff. I'll read the quote to you here. This quote comes from a Resetera user. Is it Resetera or Resetera? I don't really know. By the name of Ethereos. As you may be aware, in the last few weeks in 4chan, multiple Nintendo-related old things have been leaking, starting with old Pokemon debug ROMs and source code, then most recent 3DS debug ROMs, then keys for all consoles up until the DSi, and now the biggest of them all, the full source code, design files, documentation, and pretty much everything used to create the Revolution, aka Wii. The leak also contained Verilog files. The user goes on to say, Verilog is a hardware description language. It is used to describe circuits via code, so with this, we can learn how every single piece of the Wii was made. Now, people are seeing tons and tons of stuff in this leak, even like N64 and GameCube stuff. They even found some like old N64 gameplay demos, like testing demos that were probably never supposed to see the light of day. And all this stuff, all this information about the hardware and everything, like this is not generally public knowledge. This is something that is supposed to be kept behind locked doors. And to my knowledge, Nintendo has not made a statement on this yet, but I can't imagine they're very happy about it. And that's, I don't know, that's a scary thing about hacking. Like, anytime you give anyone, any company, anywhere, any information, they could leak it, their servers could get hacked, or anything. I don't actually know what people are going to do with all of this knowledge. To me, it just kind of seems more interesting than anything. I certainly cannot condone hacking at all of this type or anything. It probably would have been better if it hadn't happened. It was all supposed to be secret stuff, but, you know, I can't help but take a little peek. I mean, talk about it here in this video. Yeah, you know, just a little. I mean, come on, these demos are super weird and cool. In other news, this one's a little bit older, but I keep forgetting to talk about it. A recent update on the Switch now allows users to remap their buttons on their Pro Controller or Joy-Cons. Like, you can just say, this button does this button instead. This is huge. For some people, this might not seem like a big deal, and I probably won't be, like, using it, but having that option is a very non-Nintendo thing. They don't generally like options and customization and little teeny tiny changes that would make I mean, sorry if it sounds mean, but come on. Like, we've all complained about this for years and years. They're like the one company that won't let you change the controls or, you know what I mean? Or like not give you some little option that you prefer. I mean, most of their games don't even have music volume settings. That drives me crazy. So now the ability to go right into your Switch system and remap all of your buttons is just like, who did this? Who approved this? This is amazing. Can we get more stuff like that? You know, more of these little just wonderful little quality of life improvements that are gonna dramatically improve the experience for, you know, probably a good number of people? Moving on, golly gosh, here's a scoop right here. Okay, so Sammy Hall is a former Retro Studios pre-production artist. He's posted an online portfolio with some of the art that he's done at Retro Studios, and allegedly this is pre-production art from a canceled Zelda project and a canceled Boo project. One of the Boo pictures is labeled as tiny stuff for tiny handheld resolutions, so there's a really good chance that that was going to be on the DS, and then I imagine the Zelda project would have been on the Wii or something like that. Now, there's not as much info on the Boo project. There's some really nice art, but the Zelda project specifically was going to take place within the Fallen Hero timeline, or the bad ending of Ocarina of Time. And it would have been all about Sheik and the Sheikah and Gerudo stuff in there, and it would have been, quote, 10 times weirder than the average entry. And, it is hard to say if any of this was actually on track to be a game. You know, I mean, like, even if these were, quote, canceled projects, that doesn't necessarily mean they ever went into actual full development, that there were any builds for them or anything. For all we know, it never went past this concept stage. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but I will say, though, that whatever the case, have you seen these pictures? My gosh, these pictures look so cool. They look so cool. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what's going on with Sheik or anything, where the story would actually be. Even this Boo thing, it's very vague. But just like the little bits, just the visual designs and things that we see here, just the idea of a cool, weird Boo game, like it's, I don't know, both projects seem so cool. And I'm so bummed. I'm so bummed that Nintendo doesn't allow their studios more creative freedom to do weird stuff like this, you know what I mean? And then like Retro Studios themselves have had just such a troubled history getting their projects off the ground. When you look at their releases, there are just a relatively very small number that they have actually completed, so it's very disappointing to see stuff like this and just be like, just imagine what could have been, you know, or what could be if they had, I don't know, just more resources or more time, or I don't even know, more something, more just go ahead from Nintendo to do weird projects like this. They took Metroid and did something new with it. They took DK and did something new with it. I think the idea of them doing something with Zelda, but doing like a different kind of, it said it would be like almost like an RPG kind of thing. That's amazing. That's so cool. Something within the Zelda universe, but it's not exactly a Zelda game. And then just like Boo, I never thought of a Boo game. Is it like Luigi's Mansion? Is a Boo the main character? I don't really know, but I'm completely intrigued by the idea. So I don't know, take a look at these pictures, scroll through them. It's just, I don't know, man. It's so cool. I love it. It's exciting, but also kind of sad at the same time that we will never see any of this. I'm surprised he was able to even post it. I don't know if he was allowed to, or if he was just kind of like, I don't know, whatever, here's some stuff that I did. You'd think that they would keep this stuff locked up too, but I don't really know. Pretty cool though, wow. I mean, technically there's a chance that none of these were real. This is just fan art or something. Is someone pretending to be this guy? Technically that could be true. But it does sort of fit into Retro's history of, you know, all the trouble and the canceled projects and all that stuff. Or like I said, maybe it was real, not really a canceled project, just sort of a concept that never took off. I don't know. So moving on, you probably remember how E3 was canceled. The ESA decided just to not do it. And somewhat recently, Geoff Keighley, he's a big game, I don't know, he's a big game guy. He runs the Game Awards and all that stuff. He sort of broke off from the ESA and kind of distanced himself from E3. And the funny thing is, he's like, you know what? If you guys aren't going to do an E3, I'll do it instead. He's no stranger to running these kinds of big gaming events. So he himself is just doing his own E3. It's called Summer Game Fest, and instead of being over the course of a week, it's going to be like months. He's just organizing months of events for any company to kind of get into and do whatever they want. He's already gotten most of the major publishers on board. People are already there. This is already an E3 replacement. He just kind of did it. It just kind of instantly worked. And the reason I'm talking about it to you is that there's one very big omission in the list of participating companies, and that is Nintendo. We know Nintendo is having a hard time. We know that they, you know, probably aren't, blah, 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 I talked about it a million times, probably not going to do anything this June. Everything is getting delayed. They don't know what they're doing. We don't know when we're going to get the next Direct. But I don't know. It's hard to say what's going on. There are other Japanese companies on this list. They're still planning on moving forward. I don't know exactly what's going on at Nintendo. Could be that company in particular wasn't prepared for all this. I don't really know, but I will say it's pretty disappointing. E3 is canceled, and there's gonna be the new E3. This might even replace E3 later. If you can get enough people involved, who knows? But at the very least, it's happening. Oh good, it's still happening. And Nintendo, at least so far, is not planning to be a part of it. And that's disappointing. Lots of other stuff going on this year. New PlayStation, new Xbox, lots of stuff. And Nintendo's just kind of like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So here's a random one. Shigesato Itoi, the creator of the Mother series, has launched a project called the Hobonichi Mother Project. It is said to include various contents and goods. There's going to be a book that contains the scripts of Mothers 1 through 3, and he has gone on record multiple times saying he does not want to make Mother 4. He's just done with the series, but this little website he's launched teases, quote-unquote, other news before the end of this year, something related to Mother. And it's really hard to say what this could possibly be. I mean, you know, one idea is like, oh, maybe they're finally porting Mother 3. Probably not. Or like maybe remakes or something. But if they were doing that, why would they tease it here? Why would Nintendo not want to tease this in their own way? You know, why would they want him telling everyone this? So maybe it's something very small. But if it's something very small, why would you tease it so far in advance to say there's something else coming? Stay tuned before the end of the year. So that could be months and months away. So could end up being not much, could end up being something really cool, could end up being something really amazing. Whatever the case though, I'm sure if I were a big Mother fan, I'd be flipping out right now. I mean, it's basically, unfortunately, a dead series, so I'm sure it'd be great to get anything out of this, even if it's just a cool book or something, you know? So recently, Facebook Gaming hosted a $1 million charity tennis tournament featuring a great number of famous tennis players and celebrities. Interesting little tiny tidbit is they used Mario Tennis Aces to do it. Like this big deal celebrity $1 million tournament in Mario. Instead of regular tennis, they did Mario Tennis Aces, and I just think that's funny. I mean, it makes sense. People are staying home. They can't do a real tennis tournament, so they play Mario instead. And it's just funny how, like, games that you feel like they're done, you feel like you probably just never gonna hear about them again. You know what I mean? They just kind of come up again. Just kind of pops up in your face. You're like, oh yeah, Mario Tennis Aces, I remember you. And I just thought that was funny. Finally, EA also had a big financial report recently, and in that financial report, they claimed that there are multiple EA titles set to launch on Switch this year. We don't know exactly what they are going to be, but apparently there are going to at least be some. Of course, EA kind of just keeps flip-flopping back and forth. Them and Nintendo haven't had the best relationship. I've snarked about them plenty, made a whole video on it. I think generally they just don't think their games perform well enough on Switch hardware, even though lots of other third parties are plenty happy with how their games are performing, because EA is a very large company that is very, very interested in the money. They think that... I've said it before, but they don't want some money. They want all the money. They want all the money in the entire world, and if a product does not give them all the money in the entire world, they're gonna consider it a waste of time. They've also made some weird moves and then had weird expectations about those moves, you know, like releasing Mass Effect 3 on the Wii U, but not the trilogy, even though every other platform got the trilogy, and then expecting people to just buy 3, you know, releasing very, very bad stripped-down versions of FIFA on the Switch multiple times, and then expecting people to buy them and being weirded out when they don't. If I were neutral about EA as a company, then I would say there are a great number of EA games that would make a very good fit on the Switch. You got your Plants vs. Zombies, you got your Peggle. I personally would love Mass Effect Trilogy on the Switch. It would be incredible. I would love it so much, but, sorry, hold on. I just gotta get up on my high horse here. Come here, girl. Her name's Roberta. Roberta, come here. Yep, there we go. Climbing up on that. There we go. right here on my high horse. I ain't buying any games from EA. They have displayed a shocking greed and lack of any sort of morality, even in an industry where that kind of thing is running rampant. You guys can buy EA games all you want, and I won't stop you, and I won't even tell you you're wrong, but while we're talking about EA, I'm so comfy up here on this high horse, I just gotta say, bring everything you want to Switch. I ain't buying one single bit of it. Not even Mass Effect Trilogy, even though, man, I want that so bad. I want that so bad. Anyway, let me get down here. Okay, here you go. Here's an apple. Go enjoy your apple. See you later. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this rather robust Nintendo news roundup. I don't want to run any longer than I probably already have, so goodbye!